I should say, though, also on a positive note, that, of course, I'm for healthcare of some kind for the people, at least a minimum. And that starts really, in my opinion, with stopping starvation and dehydration for the people. They're the biggest bunch of rudeheads. I was thinking Ejin maybe could learn English from the Michael Moore movie and learn how to speak, so she could be like, yeah, I'll tell you something, okay? You just want to know something? So she could really learn English the way it needs to be spoken. But, this is the interesting, one powerful argument is that the idea of standard of living, okay? It's standard of living, people, And why isn't the USA, and it's the USA, it's not America. I mean, there's something interesting about hearing a Canadian say, yeah, it's not America, eh? You have it different in America, eh? I'm like, hey, you're an American too, okay? I'm an American, you're an American, we're in America, okay? This is the United States over here, okay? This is the big problem area. Can we please identify correctly? Anyway, so, but I'll tell you is that, the standard of living is something we ought to look into in the United States. Where people aren't starving, and they're not walking around with, a big hole in their pant or whatever. Unless they want to, and then that's fine, no problem. But the standard of living, where we're number one, we have the best drugs, the best recreational drugs, not that I do any of those, but the best prostitution, the hottest people, and it's all consensual, the cleanest, disease-free planet, the least violence, no homicides, number one, USA all the way, not one homicide a year, not one, can you believe it? Now that is a safe nation. Now we should be number one in stopping violence and having no violence, number one in, citizen satisfaction, citizen happiness, or whatever. Number one in best healthcare, best science, best, products, best everything, we ought to be trying to be number one. That seems, and in our healthcare, obviously, we're not. So, kind of another interesting point, like, for example, in Cuba, they ought to be able to vote for what they want. Clearly, full democracy is where it's at. So I think that wasn't really a fully shown picture of, what Cuba is basically a monarchy. I think it's free healthcare, but they have the same leader. They've had the same king, for 50 years or something. They ought to be able to have a choice, and just as all people should be able to choose the laws they live under, they have to live under. So I think that was, but that's kind of interesting. Yeah, that movie actually could give a person like me hope in terms of the history of science, because that wasn't, people don't watch Sicko for the special effects. That's probably the truth there, There's a couple other things that, and Moore pays this guy who criticizes him all day, $12,000. I feel like, hey, that's $12,000 that could have gone towards a good cause, not to our enemies, not to the people who are gonna, laser zap our mom, damn, I wouldn't pay those people a cent, maybe it's all for show. How anonymous could that be? Now it's in the movie, but no thank you for that love thine enemy crap. Fuck that shit. Thane Caesar into the jail. Thank you for life. And same for Frank Sturgis, dig his ass up. Is the way I look at shit. These people at 9/11 into the prison, they gotta be punished, come on. And be grateful that they have a cell, that they're not receiving violence and so on, That's my view. No way with this Jesus crap turn the other cheek. Yeah, that was nice to see a nude, but they got to, I think, show a male buttocks to stop the friggin' Nazi gay tirade, that everything gay, they're all anti-gay, and they're hysterical about gayness and not murder. We ought to, if we're going to be hysterical, let it be about murder, I mean, not to the point of a public disturbance, which, you might get maybe a day in jail and consensual health care if you want it in the prison, and the prison doesn't have to be a dungeon. It could be, have, a nice, room or whatever, in the typical room. But for a non-violent prisoner, who had a public D. But, what else was that other point about that movie? That something was in my craw. Just give me a minute here. Somehow, I'd be like, I haven't been French kissed in 20 years, and they'd put some old lady in front of me by a young, nice, hot female. Maybe I should add that part too. But I kind of have a feeling that in Cuba, if it was like, Bush had the teeth grinding problem, they'd give him a toothpick and say, "Get the hell out of here, you fool." What do you think? Nah, they might give him the free teeth. I don't know. Here's a safety pin. Now get the fuck out of here. Who knows? Somehow it wouldn't be all new teeth and so on. Maybe it would be, though. Who knows? Plus, it's kind of a funny thing, like, talk about this. The dental industry is totally, over treatment of stuff. Treatments for the shit you don't even need. It's like, okay, he's got a cavity. Okay, full new set of dentures. People love dentures and shit. It's like we're finding skulls with full sets of teeth from 30,000 years ago, full sets of teeth, and these people didn't even brush. I mean, I think we can live a full life with our original teeth. Thank you, But no, they love to yank those teeth out, and give you the full service, And of course, they get a few thousand to do that, So that's the thing. I mean, watch out for dental hijinks and stuff, watch out for treatments you don't need and so on, Watch out for psychiatric disorders, there's a huge, massive book of psychiatric disorders, and then when you look at it, you're like, these people are perfectly healthy. There's nothing wrong with them, I mean, maybe they can take some drugs voluntarily, or if they want to, if they feel like it helps them, that's fine. But let it be voluntary. Let it be consensual. Everything should be consensual, unless it's stopping violence, I think. Or stopping theft, I can see, or somebody violating the body of somebody else, not your own body.